breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Colby Marchio. He does great work over at Better Day, Covers, and so much more. We're going to chat it up with him about what we've all been seeing in this crazy Major League Baseball landscape over the last few weeks, what he's expecting at the trade deadline. Might the White Sox be buyers at the trade deadline? We'll discuss that and so much more. And then in the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larsium, naming does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And as always, I beg with you, I plead with you, please do send in these Twitter/X questions. Did not get in any today, but we had ourselves a fun day baseball on Monday. Let's take a look back at it. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Texas Rangers take it to the Seattle Mariners by a count of 7-3. For George Kirby, this was not what he was looking for. 7 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, and he gives up 4 bombs. Jock Peterson, his 18th and 19th home runs of the campaign. Jake Berger, his 19th, and you had Ezekiel Dern get his 12th. Bullpen from there was solid, but too little too late. Michael Rucker, Cole Wilcox, Jose Ferrer, and Alex Hoppe. They were all happy to be able to give you a scoreless inning in the Coomer Rocker. 2 runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings was taken deep by Randy Arozarena, his 13th home run of the campaign. Jacob Latz gives up a run in an inning. Jacob Junis, scoreless inning, and Robbie Alstrom was able to give you an out of the bullpen scoreless. The Pirates walked the plank to a 3-2 win over the Arizona Diamondbacks. Solid start here from Merrill Kelly. 1 unearned run given up in 5 2/3 innings, and that unearned run was due to his own throwing error. From there, Juan Murillo was able to give you 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Jonathan Loaizaga, though, he gives up a run in an inning, and then you had Taylor Clark give up the unearned run in the 10th inning. Meanwhile, for the Pirates, Mitch Keller, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 1/3 innings. From there, you had You Don't Mess with Yohan Ramirez, not get messed with, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Ron Marinaccio, Gregory Soto, and Mason Montgomery. They're all able to end scoreless innings. A guy that did not lend a lot of scoreless innings, Zach Wheeler. The Miami Marlins get their first win since the All-Star break, 8-7 the final. Wheeler was not wheeling and dealing. 5 runs allowed over the course of 3 innings, including a pair of bombs. Griffin Conine, his 8th home run season. Alberto Hernandez, his 15th. From there, the bullpen was not bad until the 9th inning. Yohan Duran gives up 3 runs in the 9th inning with the Phillies up 7-5. Prior to that, Kyle Backus, 2 shutout innings. Jose Alvarado, Jonathan Bolin, and Ryan Kirkering, they all end a scoreless inning. And flip side, Tyler Phillips, he was solid here for the Marlins. Gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings, taken deep by Bryce Harper, 22nd home run of the campaign. From there, Kate Gibson was not solid. He gives up 3 runs in a third of an inning. Tyler Zuber, unearned run given up in 2/3 of an inning. John King was the king of going for 2 innings. He gives up a run, and Calvin Fauché, a scoreless inning of his own. The Baltimore Orioles take it to the Detroit Tigers, this by a count of 8-5 for the Orioles. You had Kyle Bradish give up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings, and he gives up 10 hits. That was less than tremendous, to say the least. But from there, you're near Cano, don't you know? He was able to get you a scoreless inning. Grant Wolf from 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Andrew Kittredge, Uncle Rico Garcia, they're both able to come in and lend a scoreless inning. And Kadir Montero was more like Kadir Montero Bull, as he gives up 6 runs, 4 of which were earned in 4 1/3 innings, and he was cranked deep in this one by Leody Taveras, 5th home run of the campaign. Kobe Mayo off of Brendan Hennefy later on, his 14th home run of the season. Hennefy gives up that solo home run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Tyler Holton gives up a solo home run in a third of an inning. Tyler O'Neill, his 7th home run of the season. Drew Anderson, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Jacob O'Geespack continues to be solid, 2 shutout innings, but too little too late out there. For the New York Yankees, it's been a rough run of it for them on offense, but they explode against the White Sox. 9-5 the final. Max Fried, not long for this game, gives up 3 runs over the course of 3 innings, but the bullpen from there was solid. Tim Hill gives up a run in a third of an inning. The Yankees #1 in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st, by the way. On El Shavili, scoreless inning. You have Fernando Cruz, Brent Hendrick, both give you 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Paul Blackburn, scoreless inning. Camilo Duvall gives up an unearned run in 2/3 of an inning of work, but David Benner, he does not poop the Benner. He gets the final out of the game, and Noah Schultz not long for this game. 3 runs allowed in 3 1/3 innings. From there, Chris Murphy gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Trevor Richards, 2 shutout innings. Brian Hudson, he gives up a run in an inning. And then Sean Newcomb, who's been pretty solid all season long. 4 runs allowed in an inning, and he gets cranked deep in this one by Ali Sanchez, his first home run of the campaign. From there, Seranthony Dominguez, scoreless inning, but too little, too late out there. And this was a little bit of a shocker. Max Scherzer, he came into this game early, he loaded up the bases, but he got out of it. 3-2, the Blue Jays get the job done. Scherzer only goes 2 2/3 innings. He gives up 1 run and he punches out 4. Mason Flaherty, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Alex Macco does give up a solo home run to Andres Chaparro, his 5th home run of the campaign, but Spencer Miles, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Tyler Rogers, Jeff Hoffman, Louis Varland all land a scoreless inning, and Eddie Yean gives up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings. Ramon Urias, his 3rd home run of the campaign. Pedro Alvarez, pretty solid in a bulk roll, 1 run allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Paxton Schultz, a scoreless inning. Carson Palmquist, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, but not a lot doing here for the Nationals as they strand 9 men on base. The Mets were not stranding a lot of men on base. 14-3, they take down the Atlanta Braves. Zach Thornton, 3 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings. Taken deep by Ozzie, Albies, 18th home run season. Oscar Brisbane, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. And then Dan Duarte, 2 shutout innings. For Martin Perez, this was not a bad start. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. He was taken deep by Francisco Lindor, his 7th home run season. Then Lindor a little bit later on, his 8th home run season as Connor Thomas. I don't know why the Braves did this. He came in for 2 2/3 innings and he gave up 11 runs, all of which were earned, including 3 bombs. That was one of them. Marcus Semien, his 12th. Tyrone Taylor, his 9th. And then from there, Ori Mateo, position player, hit out on the bullpen scoreless. So that was not great, to say the least. The Milwaukee Brewers, you don't see this very often. They get shut out by the San Francisco Giants. This by a count of 3-0 as for the Giants, Tyler Mahle was anything but mauled in this one. He was absolutely tremendous. As for the Brewers, they only were able to get 2 men left on base in this one. He gives up 3 hits and 6 shutout innings. From there, Sam Entages, Dylan Smith, Eric Miller, all end a scoreless inning. Brandon Sproat gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings, was cranked deep by Grant McCray for his first home run of the campaign. From there, you were able to get 2 scoreless innings out of the bullpen from one of the young guns for this team in Garrett Stallings, but too little, too late out there. For the Chicago Cubs, they go on the road, they get the job done against the St. Louis Cardinals. This by a count of 7-3. David Peterson, great name, great start, 2 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Freddie Fermin, 5th home run of the campaign. From there, Gavin Hollowell, he gives up a run in a 3rd inning. Ryan Rolston, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Trent Thornton, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. And Jacob Webb, scoreless inning. Matthew Liberatore, 3 2/3 innings. He gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned, and is taken deep by Alex Bregman, 11th home run season, piggybacked off of Hunter Dobbins. For Dobbins, he gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 1/3 innings, and he was taken deep by Nico Horner, his 5th home run of the campaign. So not what the team was looking for there. For the Boston Red Sox, this is what they were looking for. Another win for them. 4-2 the final. As for the Athletics, they actually got a halfway decent start in this one as Jack Perkins, he manages to fill 5 2/3 innings, gives up 2 runs, both of which was earned. From there, Jose Suarez gives up 2 runs with a home run to Ceddanne Rafaela doing the damage. 11th home run of the campaign in a 3rd inning. Elvis Alvarado, Hogan Harris, and Hayden Younger were all able to give you a scoreless inning, and for the Athletics, they paid the total. Peyton Tolley, 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings, does give up a pair of home runs. Tyler Soderstrom, 17th home run of the season. Jonah Heim, his 10th, and then from there, Justin Slayton, pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Giovanni Moore and Garrett Whitlock, Aroldis Chapman, they all lend a scoreless inning, and then for the LA Angels, they find a way to get the job done. 4-2 against the Astros. Tatsuya Amai, 2/3 of an inning, walks 4. He gives up 1 hit, and he doesn't make it out of the first. AJ Blubaugh from there was solid. 2 1/3 innings, gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, as Vaughn Grisham gets his 7th home run of the campaign. Well, but Urena, a much better start here. He does not Urena all over the game. Gives up a home run in 6 innings of work, as that was to Taylor Trammell. 5th home run of the campaign. Chase Silseth, the scoreless inning. Ryan Zephyrian gives up a run in his inning work, and the Angels clean it up from there in the 9th inning. And Christian Javier was very good in long relief. 5 shutout innings out of him. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, all of a sudden the unders have gotten so hot all across the league. A little bit more overaction on Monday, but 772 unders, 783 overs, so about 50.35% hit rate to the under now. If you're looking at the amount of pushes, I believe we're up to 37, and favorites on the money line ending at 55.9%, 864 and 681, and among those favorites, 209 have failed to cover the run line, and over the last 7 days, it's been brutal for favorites on the run line. They are now 44 and 40. with 17 of those not covering the run line, 49 unders, 37 overs in this time span, and I believe we've had a push along the way if you're looking at the last 30 days in Major League Baseball. Favorites on the money line, 57.6%, 197 and 145, and among those favorites, 51 have failed to cover the run line, and the under rate a little bit over 53%, 185 unders, 163 overs, and if that serves me correct, we have had 16 pushes along the way as well. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's where we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Colby Marchio over at Better Day, along with Covers, right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. It is always great to be joined by this man as we've got Colby Marchio aboard. He does such great work over at Covers. He's doing an amazing job with Better Day. He and Jake Hassan, who you've been hearing on this great podcast quite a bit the last few weeks, thanks to Kobe's recommendation. They do a great job with the show Off the Board as well. So Kobe, wealth of knowledge when it comes to baseball, and he, much like myself, a sicko for college basketball. We love those people around here. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Kobe M Bets all together. And Kobe, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Of course, Greg. Always a pleasure. I'm glad Jake's been behaving himself and you didn't have to say, hey, that's the worst recommendation anyone's ever had. I'm going to have to text Jake. Good job for being a good boy.
Absolutely. If it's a Colby Marchio recommendation, I know that it's going to be a good
two
one.
2 for 2 with you. 2 for 2.
You get the job done every single time, my friend. So I do appreciate that. And speaking of getting the job done, the Chicago White Sox, a team that you have been high on all season long, just how do you take a look at them going into the series against the Yankees? Because obviously we're doing this not knowing how the Monday result went, but I mean, for the White Sox, I do think that's a little bit of a crossroads series for them, and it's going to be so interesting to see what this young team does at the trade deadline.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that game's going to play. I mean, it's been stormy all day over here. Now it's clearing up, but they probably will. But Noah Schultz on the bump Monday. And I know Venable's been very concerned about his performances over the last couple of outings because they've been terrible, to say the least. I think they lose, just to foreshadow. I think they lose tonight because they put up 2 touchdowns yesterday. And anytime a team puts up double digits the day before or the series, whatever you want to say, I usually am inclined to assume they're going to lose the next day. I think that's so much offensive production that it's really hard to replicate the next day. I mean, the Yankees have been horrible. Outside of their starters, there's really nothing sexy about that team. I'll dish out a quick little future for you on the Yankees as we'll circle back to the White Sox. I took the Yankees to miss the playoffs 18-1 today, Greg. And then the news came out about Cody Bellinger being out 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, it's already starting off great. Without Aaron Judge, they're a corpse, to say the least. They've been under 100 WRC plus over the last month plus. I think it's going to be – I don't think it's going to be that tough of a series for the White Sox, but it's definitely going to be it's going to be there's going to be sour taste in their mouths if they don't win this series or at least get a couple wins in this series or at least one. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that strenuous. It is the Yankees. That name carries a lot of weight regardless of how good or bad the team is. And the White Sox being this rocket in a bottle team of friendship team this season, it's going to be interesting, but I think they should be fine. I mean, they weren't great against the Astros, but the Astros did come into that series scorching hot, and at least yesterday put up 12 runs.
Yep, they certainly were. And for the Yankees, in their last 30 games going into Monday, whether or not we get that game played or not, averaging about 3.3 runs per game.
Horrible.
Holy crud. It has not been
horrible.
Great. To say the least, yeah. They are clearly missing Aaron Judge. They might be the team that's most reliant on one player in all of baseball. Meanwhile, for the White Sox, how do you take a look at them going into this trade deadline? Because for a lot of people are going to say, oh, this is a young team. They're going to be there year in and year out. And I'm going to age myself. This is older than us two with this example. But people said that about Dan Marino when he made the Super Bowl in his second season. Never got back there again. And I'm not sure about you, but with how weak the American League is, I know that for the White Sox, they've got a lot of young guys. They've got a lot of young talent. Bringing in there a veteran or two and buying at the deadline, I really think is the way to go, because while the White Sox might have many cracks at the apple, they might not have a better crack than this with how weak that entire league is.
No, and I think this is an extremely interesting conversation, and I can go any way with it. If you want to try and sway me that they should buy, I can get in with that just the way you were just a second ago. I can get in the conversation of they shouldn't. So I guess we could do both. I mean, we could talk about it. I think it's the most interesting team, buy or sell. They're not going to sell, but it's buy or do nothing. I'm more on the fence of doing nothing. Or just get like a piece or two. I don't think they should go crazy like we've been hearing about the Red Sox. But I don't know. They're young. I think this would be the year too early type thing, like the Diamondbacks a couple of years ago against when they lost to the Rangers. But I view it kind of the same way we saw the Yankees go to the World Series a couple of years ago. I mean, they had a cakewalk to the World Series, maybe one of the easiest paths of all time. And as a Yankee fan, shockingly, as people want to say I have any bias in me, I took them not to make the playoffs. I wish they didn't make it because I hate Boone and Cashman so much. I figured if they lost to the Royals the first round, they would lose. But if they're going to be eager and go buy the White Sox, I don't see the reason to. Sure, you make the World Series. Are you really going to beat whoever comes out of the AL? That's where I view the why be so eager to go to the World Series now? Would it be great for the fan base? Yes. Would it be great for the city? Yes. But you have so many young pieces. How many guys in that lineup, pitching rotation, staff, whatever you want to say, are in their first, second, or third year? They're the youngest team in baseball, 24-ish years old average. Do you really want to go all out for a team this young? I would say no. I mean, you want to get some veteran presence in that locker room? Sure. I mean, you have Benintendi, but I think Benintendi should be gone. But that's a different conversation. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I don't think there is a bad move for the White Sox. They're already a massive success this season. And regardless if they lose the rest of the games this season, they still surpassed every expectation and more.
Yeah, they have exceeded expectations. Like, this was a team with quite literally the most losses in baseball history 24 months ago.
2 years ago, people forget.
Yep. I mean, it has been a wild turnaround for them. And just taking a look at that AL Central, no team strikes fear in you. The Minnesota Twins, we don't know what they're going to be doing with Joe Ryan. The Tigers, we don't know what they're going to be doing with Tariq Skubal. And the Guardians most likely aren't going to be sellers, but the Guardians have been about as offensive as Ned Flanders this far this season, and that's a division that's very much out there for the taking. And if they play well enough, they could legitimately be able to get themselves perhaps that second seed in the American League.
They're such a weird team. I genuinely hate every team in the Central except for the White Sox, obviously, because I had so much invested in them. But, oh my God, they drive me nuts. Parker Messick is fantastic. He is an absolute joy to watch. All the young guys on that team are a joy to watch. Jose Ramirez is always a joy to watch. But they don't strike fear into anyone. I just think they're so bland, vanilla. And, I mean, their rotation isn't great outside of Messick. I mean, Slade Cicconi's a fade every single time he's out there. He's on there tonight. One of my friend, Michael Montgomery, the founder of batters-box.com, always tries to fade Slade Cicconi because he's horrible. They're just a bad team. I don't like any team going forward outside of the White Sox in that division. I don't think any of those teams are worth talking about, in my opinion. They just don't strike fear. They're bad.
Yep, they certainly are. As our good friend Colby Marchio, he does such great work over at Better Day, along with Covers, is joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And certainly we've had some interesting times here over the last few weeks because post-All-Star break, I think that you've picked up on this along with me. Unders are hitting like wildfire right now. And I know you're a big player prop guy. And have you had to make a few adjustments since the All-Star break with these player props? Because not a lot of guys are going yard right now.
I've hit kind of a cold streak, but
I think everyone has on the player prop front.
Yeah, it really does suck when someone's like, yeah, there was only 13 home runs today. And I'm like, huh. I mean, I guess everyone else kind of had a bad day as well then. And then I think Sunday there was 32, and I'm like, wow, I only hit one. And it was just Mooney, and he had two of them. I don't think there's any adjustment. I just think it's just the ebbs and flow of the season. I continue to trust. Looking for hard contact, high barrel percentage, high fly ball and line drive rate, low ground ball rate, high ISO, just guys that are due. Tonight I'm on Corbin Carroll. He's been frozen for like what feels like the entire season, but he's making 50-something% hard hit in 22-ish range barrel rate. Like, that's due to turn around. So stuff like that I keep an eye out for. But I really don't like backing guys that are ice cold. So hopefully it turns around. I've been cashing more double bets than I have home runs, but you know me, Greg. I like to stream into my phone.
Oh, yes, you do. And it's always interesting because you never know what you're going to get. And Colby, I have a feeling that you don't know what you're going to do until you actually do it yourself.
You can tell, people probably can tell, I don't know if they can, when I'm definitely not watching the game and I get the update because I'm doing something. I mean, there's games on every single day. I can't see them all. Versus me actually watching it, the energy's more there when I'm watching it.
Yep, that's always the case when you're watching it. There's just no other experience like it, as Colby Marchio does such great work over at Better Day and Covers, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And I know something else that you do a lot of is team totals, and you look at that more so this year. I know that typically the second half is where you dive into it a little bit more. And has that been the same approach this season? And have you had to make any tweaks with regards to that as well? Because again, we have been seeing a lot of unders cashing recently.
It's the same. I just look for pitchers that have been struggling. They have a matchup against them where there's a ton of elite, strong rated hitters on batter siphon box. I mean, I have the Nationals today. They had the bases loaded with one out. They didn't score a single run. It's a fun bet. It's the safer bet when you see a ton of guys and you don't want to just throw a dart at one or two of them. But there's nothing worse than seeing the opportunity was there and you had the right read. I bet you right now they don't score 3 runs in that first inning was the inning. Like it's very, you watch enough games and you have that bet enough, you will see that you'll have the quote unquote, there was the inning, that was the moment. And then the worst, the kicker of them all is the 6th inning, where usually that's the second highest scoring inning. People forget that. And then someone could obviously argue, why don't you do F7s? And I'm like, it's typically an extra run, and I don't want to worry about an extra run. It's already hard enough to get a team to do 3 runs or 4 runs, but 4 runs usually it has to be a special occasion or a team like the Dodgers for me to be inclined. But I look for struggling arms, and that's basically it.
Yeah, and with regards to struggling arms, Max Scherzer, certainly a guy that fits the bill. By the time this podcast comes out, people will know whether or not that cash or not, but holy crap, man. That has been rough, to say the least. So hopefully that one got in, because I hardcore faded Max Scherzer myself. So
you have to. Even though everyone knows they're going to have to bet it, you got to do it.
Yep, you absolutely do. And something that we've got to do is try to get you on this podcast as much as possible, Colby, because you lend such great insight, doing great work over at Better Day, Covers, and so much more. So love the good people at home know it's on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
100%. Colby M. Betts on Twitter. It's ColbyMBETS. As easy as you can. That's my username for probably anything you ever need to find me on. Write-ups every single day for Covers, and my podcast Off the Board with Jake Hassan at Better Day. Have yourself a better day. And if you ever need me for anything, just hit me up on Twitter. I do my best to answer any questions anyone has, and I try to help the best way I can. And yeah, thanks as always, Greg.
Absolutely. With Colby, he's doing such an excellent job looking at this great game of baseball, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So a big thanks to Colby for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we catch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. Always a pleasure to be joined by Colby Marchio. He does great work over at Better Day with the show Off the Board, Covers, and so much more. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So big thanks to Colby for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, then the Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice and clean and easy. So how about if we get things started? This is 901, 902 on the card. The Diamondbacks are on the road. They're facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates as Bubba Chandler goes for the Buccos. Brandon Pfaadt looks a battle for Arizona. 9 is the total, over and under both at -110, -112 to -117. That number on Pittsburgh, -103 to -105 for the Diamondbacks. Set the Pirates here to -134. I'm going to be willing to dive in on the money line for this Pirates team. They have been just so good with their offense at home. They are numero uno in terms of run creation at home with darn near 5.6 runs per game. Now for Bubba Chandler, a strikeouts to 5 walks per 9 innings. Does need to kick down the walks a little bit. That said, he's been able to do a nice job in terms of just getting better as the season has went along. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 5 out of his last 7 starts. And Brandon Pfaadt has been superb recently. So I'm actually in on this total under. I did set my total here more around an 8.6 because I do think that for Brandon Pfaadt, he is improved from what the season numbers would indicate. And I do fear a little bit of regression with what we've seen recently. He's given up 7 earned runs in his last 5 starts across 27 innings since rejoining the rotation. Overall for the season, 4.43 ERA, only getting about 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he is backed up by a bullpen that, other than what we saw over the weekend, they had just 1 or 2 just atrocious games there. They've honestly been a relatively solid bullpen. These guys like Kevin Ginkel, Taylor Clark, Juan Murillo, Braden Garcia, Jonathan Loaizaga. Got a whole bunch of guys with us up 3.50 ERA. I just still don't trust in Paul Sewald at the closer's role, but everyone else is relatively solid. It's really the lineup that has me output by the Diamondbacks. They have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home with about 4.3 to 4.4 runs per game. Lourdes Gurriel has been injured all season long, and even when he's been out there, he's not necessarily been that great. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte has been your best home run hitter right now, supplying the team with 19 bombs. Corbin Carroll just hasn't hit home runs recently. 15 home runs, about a 344 on base. Not awful, but only other guy on the roster with over 8 home runs is Nolan Arenado. 14 home runs, and he's just not the guy that he used to be. Now you do have a few guys that are moving the line for you. Geraldo Perdomo, about a 360 on base. Gabriel Moreno has been able to about a 300, and then for the Buccos, you've been able to get really good production out of Brandon Lau as your main power hitter. He's been able to supply the team with 21 home runs. Even with Oneil Cruz out of the fold, you've got Brian Reynolds, Esmeralda, and Valdez over at 375 on base, 14 home runs apiece, and Valdez has done it in less than 130 at bats. So that's been insane. Ryan O'Hearn, 17 bombs. He's been able to about a 280. Jake Magnum is hitting at 300. Nick Gonzalez is hitting a 300. You've had Jacob Gonzalez be able to move lines. So these guys have been solid. Bullpen continues to be a little bit shaky for this Pirates team. Evan Sisk being on the injury list has not helped them out. I mean, it was so bad that Justin Lawrence got DFA'd. Mason Montgomery over a 350 ERA. You don't mess with the Yohan Ramirez has honestly been solid, but Gregory Soto, he's had a little bit of issue along Dennis Santana. So interesting circumstance here. Like the under, so I tell it at 8.610 with the Buccos on one to left to minus 133 on the money line. 903, 904 on the card. The Phillies are going to be on the road against the Marlins. Sandy Alcantara goes for the fish, and Mr. Aaron Nola hopes to be super for the Phils. A relative pick'em game here. Minus 108 to a minus 110. 8 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8, over is minus 115. The under is minus 105. On the 8.5, under is minus 120. Over is even, and give me the over here. I tell it at 8.6. Gosh, Aaron Nola has not been good this year. 2.1 home runs and 3 walks allowed per 9 innings. A 5.82 ERA. It's a lineup for the Phillies as well that just hasn't been the same away from home. 3.9 runs per game away from home now. For the Miami Marlins entered into yesterday with 0 wins since the All-Star break. Not great, to say the least. And Sandy Alcantara is down with his power stuff, but he still does a nice job in terms of not beating himself. 1.1 home runs, 2.4 walks per 9 innings, a 4.01 ERA fielding dependent that lines up with that. Again, the 6.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, that's pretty much a career low for him, tied for his lowest since 2019. But for this Phillies team, even though you've had a few guys come along for the ride, Trey Turner down for what, Bryson Stott, these are guys hiding between about a 245 to a 255. Alec Boehm still is rough. Gabriel McConis out there in the outfield continues to not give you anything along JT Realmuto. It's really your main 3. Bryce Harper over a 340 on base. He's been able to give you over 20 home runs. Kyle Schwarber, 33 bombs. He's been in a little bit of an outage recently, but he's still give you over a 350 on base, even though he's on pace to strike out 250 times this year. And then Brandon Marsh, 16 home runs, hitting about a 285. For the Marlins, this is a unit that's in the bottom 7 in terms of home runs that are per at-bat basis, but you do have Kyle Sowers along with Liam Hicks, Roberto Hernandez, all between 13 to 14 home runs. Hicks is really the lone guy that gives you a good on base. He's may give you an on base percentage that hovers in that neighborhood about a 340 or so. Griffin Conine has been able to pick it up as well. Ian Javier Salanja hitting between about a 260 to 270. Otto Lopez hits for about a 330. I love what he's able to bring to the table. And Xavier Edwards, 290 average. And then you've got Edwards, Lopez, Jacob Marcy, Asteria Ruiz, all with at least 16 solo bases. Marcy needs it better than $1.95. And the bullpen injuries are really hurting this Marlins team, as Michael Peterson, great name, he's dealing with injury. Anthony Bender, William Kepner, and that's a big reason why we have seen this team go on the skid that they have. Blake Bakar has seen his ERA go above a 350 still like John King, but for Pete Fairbanks, he's got an ERA above a 5, but I do trust in Sandy Alcantara more than Aaron Noel. So in on the money line of the Marlins, semi-total minus 132, and I'm in on the over, semi-total at an 8.6, 905, 906 on the card. The Mets are going to be playing us to the Braves. Chris Sale looks to not sell it for the Braves, and Mr. Christian Scott, great Scott, goes for the Mets. Mets are an underdog here between plus 130 to plus 137, and minus 155 to minus 162 is that number on the Bravo. 7.5 is the total, under is minus 120. Over is even money to lay a run half right now with the Atlanta Braves. Find that between plus 110 to a plus 112, and I'm willing to take the plus 112 on the run line. I set mine at a plus 111, so it's a little bit of a tight one, but I'm willing to go in here just because with Christian Scott, I do have a fear that he's going to knock himself out of the start early with walks. Meanwhile, with Chris Sale, he's just been as steady as she comes this year. For Chris Sale, 2.19 ERA, he's back above 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.1 walks, 0.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Matter of fact, he's approaching 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Christian Scott, well, the power stuff is great. 11.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, 3.13 ERA, 3.70 fielding dependent because he's given up a bomb and 4.1 walks per 9 innings. So that leaves you very fearful. And he's went 5 innings or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts. We have seen the Mets start to toilet bowl a little bit with the bullpen, even though you've got Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley, along Luke Weaver, these guys being able to give you a sub 350 ERA. AJ Minter has been solid as well. Austin Warren has not necessarily been great. Some of these mix and match long guys, even Tobias Myers has been dealing with injury. That's not been great to say the least. And for the Braves, they are number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA in the National League. I recognize that Tyler Kinley has seen his ERA go above a 4, but the Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, they've been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Even DDA Fuentes has been able to find a nice home in this bullpen. Racing Iglesias has been solid. They've needed him to be because of the Robert Suarez injury. And for the Braves, top 5 team in terms of run creation away from home. Matt Olson, 27 bombs, hitting about a 265. Ozzy, Albies, 17 bombs, hitting a 260. Mauricio Dubon, it's a 260. Heck, Jim Jarvis entered into yesterday. Maybe not giving you power, but moving the line in the 9-hole at a 260. They're getting back around Acuna Jr. now as well, so love what these guys bring to the table. Drake Baldwin has looked much better as well, and for the Mets, they're without Juan Soto, and that's their offense. I wish I could put it any other way. AJ Ewan has been able to give you over 350 on base, but I mean, right now you've got Francisco Alvarez, Bo Bichette, and Marcus Semien, all between 10 and 12 home runs, and Bichette and Alvarez hit about a 255 to a 260. They don't draw a lot of walks, but Semien along with Mark Vientos, so I'm pretty sure he's dealing with injury, Luis Robert, these are guys give you a sub 300 on base. Tyrone Taylor's hit a little bit better recently, but that's been rough. Francisco Lindor has not been himself this year, so I do think that the Braves go out there, get the job done, give you plus 112 or better on that run line. I do like the over, so I tell us 7.6, 907, 908 on the card. It is the Cubs. They are going to be on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. We do know that Colin Ray is going to say hip hip hooray to another start, and right now for the Cardinals, it is listed as to be determined. So this is a game that is presently off the board. It's right now looking like Hunter Dobbins is going to be able to get the start. And for Hunter Dobbins, if he does end up going in this game, I would be setting the Cardinals here at a minus 125. So minus 124 or less. Going to be looking at the Cardinals a plus 126 or better. The Cubs, and then I set a total here of an 8.8. So an 8.5 or less, I'm going to be in on the over. A 9 or higher, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on this total to the under. As for the St. Louis Cardinals, they've actually been a bottom 5 unit in terms of run creation when they've been at home and away from home. They're a top 3 squad. I just really don't get it, but I do think that they're going to be able to catch up to a guy in Colin Ray here who does pitch quite a bit of contact. Right now for Ray, 485 ERA, field dependent, right in line with the 495, 1.4 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings with only about 6.9 very nice strikeouts per 9 innings, and it's given up 3+ runs at each out of his last 3 starts, and it's compounded by the fact that the Chicago Cubs, man, this entire bullpen, it seems like it's banged up. I mean, you've been able to have Ryan Rolson be able to give you some nice innings along Jacob Webb, but Hobie Milner, Phil Matone, Riley Martin, Daniel Palencia are all on the injury list. Porter Hodge has been out for the entirety of the season. Like, holy crud. They've got a lot of guys that are currently out of the fold. And, I mean, it is a squad that continues to be a top 6 team in terms of run creation. You don't necessarily have a lot of guys hitting for, like, the most knock your socks off average in the world. But Peter Armstrong, 23 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 390 or so with that on base. Michael Busch, even though his batting average overall is about a 247, about a 370 on base. Dansby Swanson, Seiya Suzuki, both between 16 and 18 home runs apiece. Swanson, I still have my question marks with him because it feels like he's had just a few good games and the rest of the games have not necessarily been great, but Carson Kelly continues to give you a 350 plus on base, so these guys have been relatively solid. And even though you've got very demonstrative home and road splits right now for the St. Louis Cardinals, you do have to like the fact that Jordan Walker has been hitting above a 285. He's been able to give you 20 plus home runs. Ivan Herrera does see his on base percentage go down significantly when he is at home rather than away from home, but still a 350 plus on base out of him. JJ Weatherholt, Alec Burleson have been able to give you 340 plus on base. Both have been able to give you 15 bombs this season. Do need a little bit more at the bottom of the fold. Someone like a Blaze Jordan just doesn't draw walks. Nelson Velasquez, after a hot start, has been cooling down a little bit as well. And for the Cardinals, they themselves have their bullpen issues. Matt Savanson, along with Ryan Stanek, both above a 4 ERA. Justin Brule's been a little bit better here recently, but now you've got Jojo Romero on the injury list. Riley O'Brien has been dealing with a little bit of ailment as well. So it leads to an interesting circumstance. Willing to lay up to minus 124 with regards to the Cardinals, because I do think that Hunter Dobbins is going to be able to go out there and give you a nice start. For Dobbins, he has been really upping his swing and miss stuff from a season ago. He's up to about 8.9 strikeouts, 3.2 walks per 9 innings, 318 ERA, 368 fielding dependent. Just every time he's gone out there, he's held down the fort with 3 earned runs or fewer given up in every one of his appearances thus far this season. So going to go to a minus 124 there, plus 126 or better. Looking at the Cubs, and then 8.5 or less in on the over 9 or higher, the under. 909, 910 on the betting board. It's the Colorado Rockies, and they're going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. Michael King hopes to be the king for the Padres, and you've got Michael Lorenzen on the bump for Colorado. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 120, over is even. On the 8, over and under are both at minus 110. For Slam Diego, they're between minus 174 to minus 190, and plus 146 to a plus 158. That's your number on the Colorado Rockies. And if you're looking to lay right half with the Padres, find that right around about plus 120. I was willing to go up to minus 115 because Michael Lorenzen has been absolutely awful here for the Rockies. So I'm going to be in on the run line for Michael Lorenzen. If you look at the fielding independent, it's a little bit below a 5. So perhaps there's a bit of positivity there, but man. Right now he is supplying a 6.53 ERA with 1.4 home runs, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. So it's a San Diego Padres team that has really not supplied a lot of boom at all at home thus far this season. For the Padres, right now out of 30 teams, they rank 30th in terms of run creation at home with about 3.7 runs per game, but we did see in their recent road trip post All-Star break that they have been doing a much better job with their offense. Fernando Tatis Jr. has given you 3 home runs ever since the All-Star break. You've been able to get a little bit more production out of some of these mix and match guys as well. Like, you've been able to get a bit more out of Ty France. He's been able to give you 15 plus home runs. He's been hitting darn near 275 for this unit. Manny Machado is starting to hit a little bit better. He's above the Mendoza line of 200. So about a little bit of a rough season for Jake Cronenworth, guys like this, but the struggling bats have been a little bit better. And when it comes to Colorado Rockies, this team has been much better with their road offense than they have been in the past. Hunter Goodman is a good man. 31 home runs, hitting at 260, and I believe 18 plus of those home runs have come away from him as well. And then you've got Mickey Moniak, who's been a little bit banged up, but 16 bombs, hitting for about a 275. TJ Romfield is hitting in the neighborhood of about 300, along with Jake McCarthy. Troy Johnson, he's up to about a 360 on base, and Romfield is up to 13 home runs, but this is a Rockies team at a massive disadvantage in terms of bullpen. They're a bottom 5 team in terms of bullpenning rate. Antonio Sensatella has actually been relatively solid this year, but he has seen his ERA go above a 350 now. Brandon Bernardino has really been the main fulcrum, being able to give you a sub 275 ERA. And Jordan Romano, in a small sample size, it's actually been okay. That's going to regress. So, and then you got the likes of Juan Mejia, Jaden Hill, Victor Vodnik, Zach Ognos. These guys posting up a 5+ ERA for the Padres' top 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA in the National League, as Mason Miller has obviously been remarkable for this team. Now, we are seeing an injury right now to Jason Hamm that hurt them a little bit, but Audrey Morejon back below a 3.25 ERA. Yuki Matsui, Wandy Peralta, these guys have been able to give you a sub 3.05 ERA. Bradley Rodriguez has been able to do a solid job as well. And for Michael King, he's not getting the same swings and misses that he has in the past. He's given out 3.7 walks per 9 innings. He's only getting about 7.8 strikeouts per 9, less than a home run per 9. So I do think that he gives up some runs here, like the over. Somebody told it at 8.6. And for the Padres, willing to go up to about a minus 115 on that run line. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It is the Brewers. They are going to be on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Landon Roop goes for the Giants. Logan Henderson is on the bum for Milwaukee. Milwaukee, a minus 132 to minus 145 favorite. And between plus 112 to plus 120 is that number on the Giants. 7.5 is the total. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. And I'm in on the Brewers. Set them at a minus 134. For Logan Henderson, it's been a relatively small sample size for him this season, but I just have loved what I've seen out of Logan Henderson. Just another one of these Brewers that go out there and just absolutely shove. 3.05 ERA, 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He is giving up 1.2 bombs per 9, but now he's going to be pitching in an incredibly pitcher-friendly ballpark. And look at what Henderson has done recently. He has been absolutely lights out. 3 earned runs or fewer in every one of his starts this year, and 2 earned runs or fewer in all but one of his 8 appearances. So he has been absolutely sparkling there. And Landon Roop, I actually do believe, is a little bit better than what the ERA would indicate. 3.93 ERA, 3.31 fielding dependent, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but the 3.7 walks per 9 innings, a little bit less than superb. He has given up 2 earned runs or fewer in now 4 out of his last 5 starts, but you do have a Giants bullpen that all of a sudden has very much been struggling. Caleb Killian is posting up an ERA that is hovering right in the neighborhood about a 4+. You just have not been able to get great innings out of some of these mix and match guys. Now, Eric Miller is now giving you about a sub 350 ERA, but Yo Piero, he's now on the injured list. You've had JT Brubaker give you a sub 325 ERA. Keaton Wynn is relatively solid as well, but now they're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of open ERA. And then for the Brewers, they've been dealing with an injury to Abner Uribe, but Trevor McGill has been solid with a sub 350 ERA. Aaron Ashby, a little bit shaky recently, but still relatively solid. Grant Anderson, all these guys have been able to do a nice job in terms of holding down the fourth end. Big reason why I like this total to be over. Brewers just small ball you to death. Like, holy crud, this is a team that's in the top 6 in terms of run creation. Like, all these guys just move the line. Jackson Chourio, 275 with 13 home runs. Bryce Terang is giving you 350 plus on base. Christian Yelich is like the only guy out of their top 7 hitters yesterday that was providing less than a 340 or so on base. Like, it's absolutely wild. Jake Bauer is 18 home runs, about a 350 or so on base. And then for the Giants, Rafael Devers and Casey Schmidt have been your main boom guys, 21 to 22 home runs apiece out of both of these guys. Schmidt has been able to about a 270. You don't get a lot of walks out of some of these guys, but Luis Arias is hitting above a 300. Jung-Ho Lee, he's been able to hit darn near 300 as well, though he's dealing with a little bit of injury. You may or may not be able to go in this game. Willie Adames is up to 18 home runs, a former Brewer, but also had about a 280 on base as well. So interesting circumstance. In on the over, sub I total 7.6 for the Brewers. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 133 on that money line. 913, 914 on the card. The hot shell Tampa Bay Rays are going to be playing us the Walker Texas Rangers. We know that Griffin Jax is getting jacked up for this start. Right now, it is all to be determined on the bump for the Rangers. This is a game that's off the board. According to Fangraphs, we should be getting Cal Quantrill in this start, and if you do get Mr. Quantrill going up against Griffin Jax, I did set the Rays as a minus 156 favorite, so I'm willing to go up to a minus 155 there, plus 157 or better. Going to be in on the Rangers. Set a total of an 8.1, 8 or less. I'm in on the over, an 8.5 higher to the under. I think that there might be a little bit of regression here for Griffin Jax, but he has clearly been so much better as a starter rather than coming out of the bullpen. When he was coming out of the bullpen, he posted up an ERA of an 8, and he was giving up 3 home runs per 9 innings. Now, do I think that he's as good as the starter's numbers would indicate right now? 3.38 ERA. We've given up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. Probably not, but I mean, it's been a big improvement for him. He's getting over 9 punch-outs per 9 innings, and if you do indeed get Cal Quantrill, 4.05 ERA, 5.10 fielding independent. He is pitching to a whole bunch of contact. That's a Cal Quantrill experience, ladies and gentlemen. 5.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up about 1.4 bombs per 9. Now, the good news is he's in a little bit more of a pitcher-friendly environment out there at the Trop, but you do have a Tampa Bay Rays team that's been pretty solid with their offense. They're averaging about 4.8 runs per game at home. Junior Caminero, 29 plus bombs. He's been able to give you a 365 plus on base, and low-key, Yandy Diaz has been really good along with Jonathan Aranda. Both of these guys have been able to give you over a 375 on base. Both of these guys are supplying about 14 home runs apiece. Chandler Simpson, he's one of the best base stealers in all baseball. He's hitting above a 275. This team just does a really good job in terms of just nickeling and diming you to death. Ryan Velde, Nick Fortes, these are guys hitting above a 250. And on the other end, you've got a Walker Texas Rangers team that has been playing a bunch of overs recently. 11 out of their last 13 games have gone over the total. Wyatt Langford has made all the difference for the team. He's hitting above a 270. He's been able to give you double-figure amount of home runs. Jock Peterson, after a terrible year last year, he's now up to 19 home runs, and Jake Berger, 19 bombs as well. Berger only hitting about a 240 with not much on base. Peterson more like a 345 on base, and then Brandon Nibbo has been able to give you about a 340 on base. Ezekiel Durham moves the line, hitting about a 275, and you've been able to have Nicky Lopez in a small sample size hit about a 300 as well. Now for the Rangers, they're starting to toilet bowl with their bullpen. Both of these teams outside the top 15 in terms of bullpen area. You've had the Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, along with Tyler Alexander, be able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Peyton Gray has been relatively okay as well. And then for the Rays, it's been a case where Cole Sulzer has not been good. He's been giving over a 5 ERA, but Brian Baker, he's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. And Cam Boozer has been a really nice pickup for this team as well. So it leads to a bit of an interesting circumstance here. I have this where an 8 or less, I'm going to be in on the over, 8.5 or the under. One to lay up to minus 155 on the Rays, plus 157 or better. The Rangers, 915, 916 on card. The Orioles are going to be on the road against the Tigres as Troy Melton goes for the Tigers. Dean Kramer is on the bump for the Orioles, and the Orioles are an underdog here between plus 115 to plus 120, minus 135 to minus 142. That number on Detroit, 9 to 9.5 is the total on the 9. Over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and on the 9.5, under is minus 125. Over is plus 105. I do like the under. I did set my total here at an 8.7. And for Troy Melton, he's really seen a nice uptick in terms of his swing and miss stuff. Towards the beginning part of the season, it looked a little bit unsustainable, this current ERA, because he was giving up a lot of contact, things like that. But he has now gotten 6+ strikeouts in 4 out of his last 5 starts, 5+ punch-outs, and pretty much each out of his last 7. 195 ERA. Still a 406 fielding dependent, so I don't think that this is necessarily going to be the most sustainable thing in the world, but he's done a nice job keeping things out in front of him, only giving up 2 home runs in his last 5 starts. And when it comes to Dean Kramer, it's been a small sample size for him, and it's not really been a good sample size. A 5.06 ERA, fielding independent of a 5.80, 2.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Yeah, that's not great to say the least. Now, skewed by the fact that he gave up 4 bombs against the Chicago Cubs at the start, but still, he has not necessarily been that sharp this season. It is an Orioles team that is in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation when they're away from home. They were really able to get after it yesterday against Kadir Montero, and for the Orioles, you've been able to get Gunnar Henderson going for 18 home runs, but less than a 300 on base there. Pete Alonso, about a 350 on base. He's been able to give you now 20+ home runs. You do have a lot of guys towards the bottom of the fold that just are not producing. Chadwick Trump is now getting at bats. Kobe Mayo, Tyler O'Neill, along with Leody Taveras. These are all guys hitting a 230 or lower. Jackson Holliday now up to about a 350 on base. That helps you out a little bit, but still have your issues there. And this has been a Tigers team that's been in the bottom 10 in terms of run creation as well. They are getting back Labor Torres, Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal. I'll give you at least a 365 on base, and Dylan Dingler supplying the boom, 20+ home runs. He's been able to about a 275. A.O. Lee has been able to hit like a 275 as well, but these guys like Zach McKinstry, Matt Vierling, James Outman hitting a 215 or lower whenever Jake Rogers is out there. That's been an issue. You also do have a pair of teams that are in the top 6 in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. Tyler Holden has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Drew Summers a little bit of a roll of the dice here for the Tigers, but Kyle Finnegan has been able to do a nice job holding down the fort. They're getting a few guys back from injury as well, as they've got Brendan Hennessy back in the fold, and Jacob Wagees back has actually been really good for this bullpen as well. Meanwhile, for the Baltimore Orioles, Ynier Cano along with Uncle Rico Garcia been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Andrew Kittredge, after a terrible start to the season, he's been a little bit better for the team. I still don't necessarily have a lot of faith in guys like Grant Wolfram, but you've been able to have Tyler Wells pitch Wells for this team, so to think that you get a nice under here, so I might tell it at 8.7, and for the Tigers, we'll play up to minus 144 on that money line. 917, 918 on the card. It is the Yankees, and they're going to be on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox. Garrett Cole is going to be on the bump for the Yankees, and Anthony Kay says okay to another start, and the Yankees do find themselves as a favorite here between minus 134 to a minus 140, plus 110 to a plus 118 is that number on the Southsiders. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. The over is minus 115. The under is minus 105 on the 8.5. Under is minus 120. Over is even money. And with the New York Yankees, I did set them at a minus 136. I just really am still not a believer in Anthony Kay. He's been pitching to a lot of contact, and in my opinion, he's one of the more lucky pitchers in all baseball. He's getting fewer than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. The walks have not necessarily been great to him either. He's giving up about 3.7 walks per 9 innings, 1.3 bombs per 9, so 4.21 ERA, 5.13 fielding dependent, yet he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer at each out of his last 4 starts. Now, he's also gone 5 innings or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts, with the lone exception being 5 1/3, so he's not filling a lot of innings. Now, the good news is you do have a White Sox bullpen that has actually been really good recently. You've been able to have likes of Sean Newcomb, Grant Taylor, Brian Hudson, be able to give you a sub-325 ERA since June 1st. They've been a top 7 team in terms of open ERA. Yankees have actually been numero uno, as you've got the likes of Fernando Cruz, David Bednar, throw in there Paul Blackburn, being able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Brett Hedrick has been really good, and for Garrett Cole, 3 earned runs or fewer now allowed in each out of his last 4 starts, and the swing and miss stuff is back. 6+ punch-outs in each out of his last 4 starts. Overall for the season, posting up 3.92 ERA, 3.92 fielding dependent, but he's back up to about 9.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. The kryptonite has been the deep ball. Give it up about 1.6 home runs, per 9 innings. I do think that that's going to be ironing out sooner rather than later, even though you face off against a trio of guys in Montaka Murakami, Miguel Vargas, along Colson Montgomery. I'll give you at least 22 home runs. I will say Randall Grichuk is a nice veteran bat for the White Sox as well. I think that he's going to help them out moving forward. Chase Meadroff continues to move line with about a 350 on base. Tristan Peters has been able to about a 280, and then you've been able to get good production as well out of Sam Antonassi, who's been able to give you over a 370 on base. Meanwhile, Yankees in their last 30 games going into yesterday, man, averaging 3.3 runs per game. Ben Rice has been good. He's been able to give you a 360 on base, 28 plus home runs, and Paul Goldschmidt post All-Star break has been a little bit better, but still 320 on base. We've seen him toilet bowl a little bit, and then you just have a lot of mix and match guys like Seth Jones, along with Yasan Dominguez, that just have not been able to take off for the team. Jose Cabrera doesn't give you any power. The catcher spot has been rough, so it's a very interesting circumstance. I do think that 8 is just a little bit too low on this total, so I might tell it at 8.1. So like the over for the Yankees, one way up to minus 135 on the money line. 919, 920 on the card. The Royals are going to be on the road against the Twins. Taj Shonkal, Milton Bradley is on the bump for the Twins. Seth Lugo goes for the Royals, and the Royals do find themselves as shock, surprise, an underdog here, as they're between plus 129 to plus 135, minus 155 to minus 160. Then around Minnesota, 9 is the total. The over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and I like the under. I set my total at 8.3. This is a Royals team that's averaging about 3.6 runs per game away from them this season. That is dead sinking last in all of baseball. And I recognize that the bullpen is not great. Right now, they're a bottom 5 team in terms of bullpen area. The likes of Alex Lang, Lucas Ursich, Steven Cruz, go down the list of guys posting up a 5+ ERA. It's been atrocious, but with Seth Lugo, he's been relatively solid. A 4.36 ERA, 4.27 fielding dependent, 1.1 home runs, 2.9 walks per 9 innings. He only gets about 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, but overall, he's been a guy that's been able to hold down the fort, and Taj Bradley was really having some issues towards like late May into June, but he's been much better recently. For Taj Bradley, he's now given up 200 runs or fewer on 4 of his last 5 starts, 3.69 ERA. He's getting 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, does give up the 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, so he's got a fielding dependent of a 4.04. But again, who's right now hitting for the Royals, especially with Bobby Witt Jr. being out the fold? Like, that is absolutely terrible for the team. You've been able to have Carter Jensen be able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He's been able to about a 242, 250. And Jack Aguileone, 16 plus home runs. He's been a little bit better for the team as well. But even though Salvador Perez, I think he's had 4 home runs since the All-Star break, he's still giving you a sub 270 on base. That's just really hard to be able to back, to say the least. Nick Lofton gives you a little bit of contact, and Tyler Tolbert is actually hitting like 300 for the team. So yay, barely there. But Lane Thomas, guys like this, they just have not been amazing for the team. And then on the flip side of things, you do have a Minnesota Twins team that's in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Byron Buxton has not necessarily been himself since coming off the injury list, but still 25 bombs, and his on-base percentage is still pretty sterling at right in that neighborhood, about a 325. Additionally, Luke Cashal has actually given you about a 350 on base. No power whatsoever, but hey, you'll take that. Brooks Lee, along with Cody Clemens, a combined 33 home runs out of these 2 guys, both hitting about a 242, 250. Josh Bell has been able to pick it up since early June as well. Now for the Twins, they themselves are a bottom 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Like, Yandres Gomez has been relatively solid, along with Andrew Morris. Both of these guys are giving you an ERA that is sub 350, but the other guys, man, Anthony Banda, Travis Adams, whenever he's been out there, Cody Lawyerson, like so many guys posting up over a 4.40 ERA. It's just absolutely wild. So it's an interesting circumstance. I do think that both starters give you some good length to be able to keep the under. So I total at 8.3. And for the Twins, set them at a minus 159 on the money line. Don't want the run line, but I'll take that money line. 921, 922 on the card. The Astros are going to be on the road facing off against the Angels, as Reed Detmers is on the bump for the Halos, and Peter Lambert goes for Houston. Houston is in a relatively pick'em game here between minus 108 to a minus 110, minus 112 to a minus 108 is that number on the Halos. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is minus 115. The under is minus 105 on the 8.5. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. And I'm going to be backing the Angels here. Not something I do very often. I set them at a minus 126. For Peter Lambert, you look at the overall season numbers, and they've been relatively solid with the 3.03 ERA, but closer to a 4.03 fielding dependent because the command has been a little bit wonky for him. He's given up 3.5 walks per 9 innings, so that's something that you have to be cautious of. Does a relatively solid job keeping the ball in the air. Give it up about 1 home run per 9 innings, and his ERA is actually a little bit lower away from home rather than at home, but I do trust in Reed Detmers here. I know that the ERA is not necessarily the world's greatest at a 4.05, but this has been a man that has been able to get punch-outs, 7.2 strikeouts, at 2.8 walks per 9 innings. He's only allowing about 1 home run per 9, and he's gone into the start in his last 2 starts, 11 and a third innings, giving up just 1 run. And for the Astros, it does feel like a little bit of a top-heavy lineup. Yordan Alvarez has obviously been amazing, as he's given you over a 400 on base, 33-plus home runs, so that's been great. And Christian Walker doesn't necessarily hit for a lot of average, but he's been able to give you 20-plus home runs as well. But these mix and match outfielders are absolutely terrible for this team, as Joey Luperfido, Zach Cole, Lucas Spence, Bryce Matthews, who's currently on the injury list, by the way, Lamont Wade Jr., like so many guys. They're hitting at 225 or lower. Cam Smith has been able to give you double-figure amount of homers, but he's hitting below 225 as well. Jeremy Pena hitting for a lot of average. He's hitting above 300, so that's been solid. Isaac Paredes has been a little bit better, but very much a pull hitter. Meanwhile, for the Angels, Mike Trout, Zach Neto, they don't necessarily hit for the world's greatest average, but they've been able to combine for 37 home runs this year. Ori Soler has not been good in the second half of the season. Josh Lowe, lost season from Joe Adele, setting fire to the rain with 16 home runs. Doesn't necessarily give you a lot of on base. It's an all or nothing team with the Angels, but also for the Angels, this is shocking. They're a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. I don't think a lot of people would know that, but I mean, the likes of Kirby Yates, Sam Natera, Sam Bachman, Ryan Zephyrion, Chase Silseth, I mean, you've got a lot of guys that have willed their ERA down below a 4. So shout out to them. And the Houston Astros, ever since they've gotten Josh Hader back, they've been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. You've been able to have the likes of Bennett Sosa, Brian King, Steven Okert come in there, hold down the fort. These are all guys that I believe are giving you a sub 4 ERA. Sosa might be a little bit above that, but that's because he's been out due to injury. Josh Hader has obviously been amazing, and Aniel De Los Santos has not been, but I think that you get a good start here out of Reed Detmers. I'm willing to lay up to minus 125 on that Angels money line. I do like the over of 8, set my total at 8.3. 923, 924 on the card. The Red Sox are going to be on the road against the Athletics. Gage Jump hopes to not get jumped here for the Athletics, and Jake Bennett goes for the Red Sox. Red Sox do find themselves here as a mid-tier favorite, as you're finding them anywhere between minus 144 to a minus 155, plus 122 to a plus 130. That's your number on the Athletics. 9.5 is the total. The over and the under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. If you're looking to lay the run line here of the Red Sox, right now you're finding that at a plus 110, and I am going to be in on that run line of the Red Sox, as I did set this one at a plus 109, so plus 110 or better. That does put me in there, because for Gage Jump, he just has not been good at home thus far this season. Like, holy crud. Things have just absolutely toiled both from, because he's actually a good pitcher on the road. 251 road ERA, 635 ERA at home, and for Gage Jump, he's really struggled recently. 4+ runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts, 3 earned runs in 4 of his last 5 as well, because there's been a few unearned runs, and you do have to have a little bit of a regression fear here with Jake Bennett, 258 ERA, but a higher fielding dependent, because he's only getting about 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, but does a good job not beating himself. He's giving up 0.6 home runs, 1.4 walks per 9 innings, and he's backed up by a Red Sox bullpen that has been absolutely superb thus far this season. As for the Red Sox, number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA, the likes of Teran Guerrero, Giovanni Morin, Garrett Whitlock, they're giving you a sub 325 ERA. That sends it over to Aroldis Chapman, who's been absolutely amazing at the closer spot. And for the Athletics, they are not number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA. As a matter of fact, that they're the exact opposite. They have been dead stinking last in terms of bullpen ERA. Over a 550 bullpen ERA going into the series, and since June 1st, over a 650. Like, holy crud. Things have just went absolutely down the toilet bowl for them. You've got so many of these guys, like Elvis Alvarado being in the building, Luis Medina, Jose Suarez, all these guys above a 4 ERA. Mark Leiter Jr. and Justin Turner weren't great, but now they're on the injury list. Hogan Harris is like your lone presentable bullpen piece at a 315, so you might get dealt at the deadline, and now you're without Jay Langolaris. That's not great, to say the least. Good news is Nick Kurtz is back. He's been able to give you 20+ bombs, and he's been able to give you a 400 on base. Tyler Soderstrom has been great as well. 16 home runs. He's hitting about a 250 as well. Do note that Kurtz might be dealing with a little bit of injury now as well, so that's all the more not great for the Athletics, to say the least. Jacob Olsen hitting about 275. That's been relatively solid. And Carlos Cortez, he's been able to move line as well. And then for the Red Sox, this team averages fewer than 4 runs per game at home. That's a bottom 6 mark in all of baseball, but closer to about 4.5 runs per game away from home. Wilson Contreras carrying the mail, 390 on base, 22 home runs. They now pick up Curtis Mead, 17 bombs, over a 350 on base. Weiler Abreu, Ceddanne Rafaela, along with Masataka Yoshida, between about a 320 to a 335-ish on base. Rafaela has been able to now give you a double-figure amount of homers. Weiler Abreu is wild out for 15+ home runs as well. So, circumstance where I'm going to be willing to trust in the Red Sox at a plus 110 or better on the run line, and all aboard the over to semi-total at a 10.6. 925, 926 on the card. The Nationals are going to be playing us to the Blue Jays. Shane Bieber has a fever for trying to get outs, and you've got Mr. Cade Cavalli going for Washington. Washington minus 140 to minus 142 favorites, and between plus 115 to a plus 120 is that number on Toronto. 9 is the total, unders minus 120. The over is even, and I like the over. I did set my total at a 9.1, and man, it has once again not been great for Shane Bieber thus far this season, as the fielding independent is well above a 5. He's giving up over 2 home runs per 9 innings. He's actually been able to whittle down his ERA a little bit more here over the last few starts, but I don't have any faith in him whatsoever. 4.70 ERA, 5.82 fielding independent, down below 7 strikeouts per 9 innings as well. And Cade Cavalli, he does have a 3.58 ERA, but closer to 3.12 fielding independent. He is getting about 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 as well, so he's been able to do a really good job there. Now, for the Nationals, I do have to be on the over because, for one, they are numero uno in terms of run creation. Entering into yesterday, getting about 5.5 runs per game. You've got James Wood along CJ Abrams absolutely pounding the ball right now. Both of these guys, 27 plus home runs. Both give you at least a 365 on base, for Wood closer to a 400 base. Even Keeper Ruiz, even though he doesn't draw walks, he's hitting about a 270. They do trade away Curtis Mead, but Luis Garcia, 20 plus home runs, hitting about a 280. So these guys have been absolutely fortified. Now, for the Blue Jays, dead second last in terms of run creation this year, and they do have guys that are able to move the line. Ernie Clements, Nathan Lukes hitting above a 280. Vlad Guerrero Jr., 6 home runs. That's not good to say the least. But hey, he's giving you about a 345 on base. George Springer has been able to give you a little bit more power, but Kazuma Okamoto, lone guy that's been able to give you over 11 home runs. He's been only hitting about 225, but 22 home runs. It's a Blue Jays bullpen that is not awful, but you still have to have your issues there. And Max Scherzer gave you 2 2/3 innings yesterday, so that's not necessarily great to say the least as well. So this is a completely spent Blue Jays bullpen, and you've been able to have Tyler Rogers, Louis Varland be able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but Braden Fisher's on the bereavement list right now. Brandon Little is posting up an ERA well above a 5. Jeff Hoffman has not been great to say the least. And then again, with the Washington Nationals, they're dealing with a lot of injuries with regards to their bullpen as well. Brad Lord, along with PJ Poulin being on the injury list, hurts. Riley Cornelio, Carson Palmquist, these are guys posting up an ERA above a 5. Clayton Peter, Orlando Robalta have not been awful, but do think that you get a high-scoring game here. I mean, on the over side, I tell 9.1 for the Nationals, multiple up to minus 146 on the money line. 927, 928 on the card. The Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're going to be playing us the Cleveland Guardians. Gavin Williams goes for the Guardians. Brady Singer hopes to have the Guardians singing the blues, and for the Guardians, they do find themselves as a slim road favorite here, minus 135-ish, and then plus 110 to a plus 115 is that number on Cincinnati. 9 is the total, over and under, both at minus 110, and I'm going to be in on the Reds. I set them at a plus 107. If you look at the season numbers for Brady Singer, they are not good to say the least. He's right now posting up a 4.53 ERA, 5.21 field independent, 1.8 home runs, 2.8 walks allowed per 9 innings. He has now given up 3 earned runs or fewer, though, in 6 out of his last 7 starts. 2 earned runs or fewer in 6 out of his last 8. So, I mean, he's been able to do a much better job here recently. So, yay, verily, for Brady Singer being able to round into form. He's giving up only about 2.8 walks per 9 innings, so he's been able to work on that a little bit. And on the flip side of things, I have a guy in Gavin Williams that just hasn't been the same pitcher when he's been away from home rather than at home. He's a really good power pitcher, 3.78 ERA, 11.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but also gives up 1.4 bombs per 9 innings for Gavin Williams when he has been at home. He's been, I'm not going to call him an elite pitcher, but a very good pitcher, 3.09 ERA. At home, he still gives up about 1.2, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but 4.55 ERA away from home, well above 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. Now, he's backed up by the better bullpen. This is a Cincinnati Reds team that is in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but still, they've been much better recently. TJ Antone has been solid, along with Brock and Rollberg, Caleb Ferguson. These have been guys that have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. They're getting back Emilio Pagan, but Emilio Pagan certainly has not been great to say the least. And for the Cincinnati Reds, it has been a little bit of an up and down offense this season, but you do have a trio of guys, JJ Bleday, Spencer Steer, along with Ellie De La Cruz, give you 15 plus home runs outside of cousin Sal Stewart, who's been able to supply over 20 home runs thus far this season. Now, you do need a little bit more on some of these guys in the bottom of the fold, TJ Friedel and company. It's been a little bit rough there, but I do think that for the Cleveland Guardians, they're going to continue to struggle on offense because this team over the last 45 games, averaging fewer than 3.85 runs per game. They are getting back Jose Ramirez, hasn't looked like himself since coming off the injury list, along with Anel Martinez, and you don't have a single guy that's over 11 home runs on the team. Now, you do now have officially 5 guys between 10 and 11 home runs, so maybe they can open up a restaurant, but that's like Kyle Manzardo, one of those guys only hitting about a 210. You've been able to get much more out of Stephen Kwan recently. He's up to about a 350 on base. Chase Lauder has been able to give you about a 350 on base. And then Jose Ramirez, Travis Bazzana, 335 on base, but you still have just so many dead bats. Patrick Bailey hitting below the middle line of 200. Rhys Hoskins, 11 home runs, but hitting a 174. Petey Halpin, guys like this, it just has been brutal. So with this circumstance, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Reds on the money line. And by the way, if this sounds like an insert, it is, because this is game 2 of the double dip. So I'm going to be in on Brady Singer at a plus 108 or better on the money line. And then with the 9, I'm going to be in on the under. And then this is going to be an added game. This is 981, 982. We should be getting the same matchup that we were supposed to get on Monday between the Guardians and the Reds, with it being Chase Byrne against Slade Cecconi, and this was a number that was between about minus 155 to minus 160 on the Reds, total of 9, and if we get pretty much the same number, I'll be back in on the Cincinnati Reds, and I'll be back in on this total to the under. Again, the Guardians just struggling with their offense, and for Cecconi, he's been a little bit better recently. He has given up 300 runs in 12 out of his last 14 starts. Not a guy that's going to light up the radar gun, less than 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I like what he's been able to do. Meanwhile, for Chase Burns, he has been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. The fielding independent indicates that he might get a little bit of regression from his 2.42 ERA, 3.34 fielding dependent, but 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's only giving up 1 home run per 9, and they always like to call it Great American Small Park, but he's been able to do a nice job in terms of being able to pitch at home this year, a 2.32 ERA, and at home he's giving up only about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings. So I'd be willing to go up to a minus 172 on that Reds money line in the early game between Burns and Cecconi, and with that total, sub-9 at 8.4, so 8.5 or higher in on the under. And we wrap things up with 929, 930 on the card. It's the Seattle Mariners. They're going to be on the road against the LA Dodgers. Luis Castillo is on the bump for Seattle. Right now, it is all to be determined on the bump for the Dodgers. It's a game that is presently off the board. With Justin Robleski having last pitch on Tuesday, I am figuring that it's going to be him, and set the Dodgers on the money line at a minus 193. Any sort of plus money, I'll be taking a look at them on the run line, plus 194 or better. Looking at the Mariners, made a total of an 8.9, so 8.5 or less. Going to be in on the over, a 9 or higher to the under end for Robleski. Do I think that the contact that he's giving up is going to catch up to him? Probably, but at the same time, this guy's been absolutely rocking and rolling this season. He's doing a great job in terms of not hurting himself. Right now, that ERA is still maintaining at a 2.62, 3.26 fielding dependent, 0.7 home runs, 1.8 walks per 9 innings. Again, 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. A little bit of a concern, but it helps when you go up against this Mariners lineup, and has been about as offensive as Ned Flanders this far this season. They are a bottom 3 team in terms of run creation. Big dumper Cal Raleigh has been more like taking a big dump this year. He's up to 10 home runs, but he's also hitting less than $175, so that's not been tremendous to say the least. You've been able to get a little bit more out of these guys, like a Colt Young, Julio Rodriguez, Tom Canzone, Luke Raley, pretty much all these guys between 13 and 16 home runs. Randy Arozarena with his home run yesterday, he's up to 13 bombs, and he's been able to give you about a 380 on base. He was the lone guy that got an at-bat yesterday for the Seattle Mariners with above a 333 on base, and the man with a 333 on base is J.P. Crawford with a 215 batting average. Now for the Mariners, this has actually been a very rock-solid bullpen. They're a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Even with Matt Brash, Cooper Criswell on the fold, you've got the likes of Jose Ferrer, Edward Bizardo, Gabe Spire, who have all been able to do a nice job giving you a sub-325 ERA. Nick Davila has been able to give you some relatively okay innings as well, but they did not get what they were hoping for out of George Kirby yesterday, so that's a little bit of an issue for this team. And then on the flip side of things for the Dodgers, they've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. You've seen Jack Dreyer have his ups and downs, but likes of Alex Vesia, throwing their Edgar Enriquez, they've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. You've been able to get some good production as well as some of these mix and match guys. Like Will Klein, I know that he had a little bit of a rough one over the weekend, but he's been solid. Great Scott, Tanner Scott has been really good, and for the Dodgers, obviously, this is a team that's just flat out able to mash. A top 5 team in terms of just runs per game. They are producing much less at home rather than away from home. Right now, number 1 in terms of run creation away from home with about 5.8 runs per game. At home, that falls to about 4.4 runs per game. And Shohei Ohtani is obviously dealing with a little bit of an injury. That hurts the seam, but the likes of Max Muncy, Andy Paz, being able to give you 16 plus home runs. Freddie Freeman has been able to do so as well. You do have to love what these guys have been able to bring to the table. Additionally, you've been able to get some really good production out of someone like a Tommy Edman whenever he's been out there, as well as I know that he's been dealing with injury all season long and maybe not a ton of power, but hitting well above a 300 whenever Miguel Vargas has gotten at bats. He's been able to above a 275 as well. So it's a very interesting circumstance here because I just am not a believer in Luis Castillo anymore. If you do look at the fielding independent numbers for Luis Castillo, they do point to positivity on the 4.85 ERA. He's given up about 1.3 home runs, 2.9 walks per 9 innings, but it was always a power pitcher. He just doesn't have that power stuff anymore. a .437 fielding pennant. Ever since he's gotten to Seattle, he's had some pretty demonstrative home and road splits as well. So in that for less, looking at the over a 9 or higher to the under for the Dodgers, pretty much plus 104 or better. Looking at the run line, a plus 194 or better. I'd be looking at the Seattle Mariners on the money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to our guy, Colby Marchio. He does great work over at Better Day, along with Covers. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever for this podcast, do have one or two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast where I had a 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day, giving you guys picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.